Okay, sir. I'm audible on the web. Okay, sir. So let us get started. So yesterday's class, am I audible to you? Yeah. So in the yesterday's session, what we have done is we have understood three generations of running applications. The first one was running on physical servers. The second one was running on virtual machines. And then I've said that there is a third way, which is called as containers. Containers are lightweight approach. Okay. Now, let us basically try to understand the concept of what happens inside the container. Okay. What is a container? Okay. Right, sir. Let us assume that I want to run an application. Okay. I want to run something like Notepad or whatever it is. I want to run an application. So the basic approach is 1 minute. Okay. If I want to run any application, first operating system should be started. Okay. And once operating system starts, what would happen is there will be many processes that will be created. Okay. You'll have too many processes that will be running. And on top of that, you are trying to basically run one more process, which is your application. So for example, let me try to basically look into or discuss what is happening on my system right now. So right now I'm running Windows 11. There are many things that are running. Now I want to run Notepad. So I've launched Notepad. Now if I open Task Manager, there will be a process that is called as notepad.exe that got launched. Are you seeing? And this process basically gets some amount of CPU and RAM, and that is how Notepad is running. The moment I kill the Notepad process, okay. So for example, I end this. So no more Notepad. Notepad is down. Okay. Right. But in addition to that, if you try to see, there are too many processes that are running in. Let it be a Windows system or a Linux system. Let me quickly try to create one more stuff. I'll be trying to create a virtual machine on the cloud, a Linux machine. Let us try to see what happens. In this, I have to give MFA. Let me launch one Linux machine. The one I've shown you running an application on my laptop, something like Notepad, simply. Now what I'll do is I'll try to create one Linux machine. Okay. Fine, sir. Let us wait till this machine is created and let us see what is happening inside that machine. రాట్లేదా? Now? Now? Yeah. Right. Fine, sir. This is a Linux machine, and let me log in into the Linux machine. Okay. Now, if you try to see what is running in my machine, the easiest way to look at it is there is something called as HTOP. It is also something like Task Manager. Are there a lot of processes that are running in already? Yes. So now inside any operating system, we will have process. Now what I want to run is, let me take this example. Okay. I want to run a Java application. Okay. So the application which I want to run is Spring Pectin. Okay. For this, I need to do only one change here. I think I have not opened 8080. So, and this. All right. Fine then. So now the application, there is no way I can skip this now. Just give me a moment, sir. Okay, sir. So the application is present over here. Refer here for Java app. So this is the Java application which was built by some developer or whatever it is. I have this. I want to run this. Now, this application requires Java 17. There are many versions of Java and it requires Java 17. This application uses port 8080. So this application runs on port 88. Now, to run this application, the command would be java-jar, and after you download it, just give the path of this. When I do this, this application will start working. Okay. Right. So first thing is I need to get this application. So what I'll try to do is let me try to download this on a Linux machine. I'll run it on a Windows machine also. It doesn't matter. Okay. So this command downloads the application. Now do I have this? Yeah. Now let me try to run java-jar and this. Oh, I have not installed Java. So sudo apt update, and it requires Java 17. So I'm installing Java. You need not know this command, sir. I'm just trying to tell you any application setup works like this itself. You need to basically take an operating system, install the necessary softwares. On top of that, you will download the package of the application. Okay. While this is running, let me try to run in my local system. So this is Linux machine. Let me try to call it as Linux, and this is my Windows system. Okay. So in my Windows system also, in downloads, I have this. Okay. Now in my machine, if I try to look into it, I already have Java with version 17. So whatever is required to run that software is already present on my system. And this application takes a little bit of time to start. Okay. Now if I can go into the browser and then http:// I want to access my system itself. So I'll be using localhost and then it runs on port 88. Now I click on this. So I think this is the application that is basically up. Now let me go to the Linux system. In the Linux system also, let me try to run java-jar. Okay. Now let me take the IP address of this virtual machine. Okay. http:// this IP address :80. Is there any difference, sir? Okay. So I was able to run this machine on Windows as well as Linux. Why? This application was not searching for Windows or Linux. It was searching for Java to be required. Okay. So are we clear on this now? So what is required, whatever is required to be present, if you give the importance to that, that is more than enough. Okay. And now let me show you one more problem. Now let me try to, I want to run this application once again. Okay. So on my Windows system, I want to run this application once again. Let us see what happens. Obviously, it will be faster in Linux, sir. Yeah. Because on the Linux machine, there is nothing, very less things that are running. Are you saying application failed to start? Because on my system, I can run only one instance of it. Okay. And if you try to look at my system, okay, so approximately 32 GB of memory. And now if you try to look into, let us try to understand how much is that Spring Pet Clinic is taking. Oh, sir, Alra. కాదు నీకు తెచ్చుకున్నా అంటే ఇది షుగర్ లేదు ఇందులో నీకు అనుకుని ఇచ్చేసి ఉంటాడు రైట్ సో if you try to basically look into it, this application is approximately taking 497 MB of RAM. Okay, and almost no CPU because I'm not basically using it. And what is that my machine has? 32 GB of RAM. So literally I can run many applications like that, right? Forget for some time that it is a desktop machine. If it is a server, I can run many more applications like that, but I'm running only one instance. So this is the problem. Okay. So how to address that? Okay. So let us go back to what we have discussed yesterday, right? So I have an operating system and then I'll install Docker. Now what Docker does is, Docker can help me in creating something called as container. Okay. And I can create a multiple containers. Okay. How many containers can I create? That depends on how much of horsepower you have, how much of CPU, how much of RAM, so that it says that there is no more resources. Okay. Right. So inside this container, what you would have is, okay, it will get a very thin layer of OS. Okay. On top of it, exactly whatever dependencies that are required to run your application. Then you would have your application that is running. Am I clear on this, sir? And the only process that executes inside that is your application. The only process that executes inside this is your application. Am I clear on this, sir? So to which am I giving priority now? To operating system or to application? Application. Now each of this will get its own IP address. Okay. It gets its own IP address. So obviously each of the space gets some amount of CPU and RAM. And inside this isolated area, it will have everything that is necessary to run this application. That is exactly what a container is. Okay. Now, where did this concept came in from? Okay. So earlier, when right. So if you basically try to see, earlier for logistics, it was very difficult to carry goods. Why? Because of irregular shapes and all that stuff. But then what did transport industry do? They came up with containers. Okay. Now, if you try to basically look into different sizes of containers. Okay. Right. So if you try to see, generally whenever you are using any port, depending on your luggage, there will be a fixed size port. Okay. And you have to fit your application inside this. And inside this, you can have all of your luggage and you can transport it anywhere across the world. So we have these containers which are suitable for roadway, railways, and even ships. That's the basic idea. All right. Now this concept is basically trying to do the same thing for applications. You try to ensure that your application is running inside it, and now you can run it anywhere. Okay. So if your goods are fit inside this container, I can transport them on road. I can transport them over the water, right? Yeah. So that's the basic idea over here. That is where this container came into play. So what is a container now? Container is a isolated area. Okay. This has everything required to run the application. Okay. Right. So containers are lightweight. Okay. And can be scaled. Okay. Right. So in my Linux machine, if you try to see how many containers was I able to run? One. Sorry. How many applications was I able to run? Only one. And now if you try to look into this machine, I have one virtual CPU and 1 GB of RAM. Okay. Now, what I'll do is quickly I'll try to install Docker in this. Okay. We will do this in an organic way, sir. Just let us try to understand the stuff. As such, install. I think I should have Spring Bat Clinic. Yeah. Okay, sir. Ah. Don't worry about the commands for now. Right. Now, what I'll try to tell is, I am trying to run the same Spring Bat Clinic inside the container. Okay. Right. And 1 minute. Okay. Right. Sir. Now I'll try to tell that Docker run hyphen name SPC1. That is Spring Bat Clinic I'm running for the first time. Okay. Hyphen D hyphen capital P, whatever they mean. Let us not worry about it. Yeah. Why is it so? Was it latest or I think I shouldn't. Okay. Colon 1.0. Okay, sir. And now let me try to run this for the second time also. So how many Spring Bat Clinics am I running now? 2. So yeah, right. And let me try to show you the memory utilization. Fine, sir. So one Spring Bat Clinic is taking how much? 103 MB. The other one is taking how much? 198 MB. And when it comes to CPU, they are basically sharing the CPU because I have only one virtual CPU. This is a very small machine. Okay. Now, let me go to the virtual machine and let me try to tell that. So this was the IP address of this machine. First SPC1 is running on a port which is called as 32768. 32768. The second one is running on a port which is 32769. The machine is one virtual CPU and 1 GB of RAM. That is a very, very small machine. Okay. On that, am I able to run 2 instances of Spring Bat Clinic? If you try to see, one is 32769, the other one is 32768. Not only that, I'll not stop here. Let me try to run one more container. Docker run hyphen D hyphen name nginx hyphen capital P. Let me try to call it as. So what is Docker doing? Docker is continuously creating this isolated areas. Inside one isolated area, it will have whatever is required to run my application. In the first 2 cases, I have given Spring Bat Clinic. Now I am trying to give altogether one more application, which is something which is called as Nginx. So each of this container will get whatever is required to run it. Okay, right? Now my machine might be dead slow because I'm speaking the machine. I'm basically hitting the utilization very hard. Okay, but if this starts, then there are 3 applications that are running on 1 GB server. Okay, that is the best part of it. So you can utilize your machines to the potential, and the only software which you will be installing on your server is Docker. Yeah, going forward it becomes Kubernetes. That's a different story, but at least this is what it is. Now, just like how container packaging has revolutionized the what do you call supply chain industry or a transport industry, now this container transformation does the same thing. So you give this container, you build something called as an image, and you share it with anyone. And everyone in the world, whomever you have shared with, has to run one simple command, and his application starts working on the local machine. And it utilizes the resources to the minimum. Okay. And full priority is given to your application, Suchman server. Yeah. Right. Because it cannot handle this much of load. Okay. But if I do the same work on my laptop, I can run too many applications because I have enough horsepower here. Okay. Right. So do we understand this context first? Yes. Okay. Right. Now, let me try to just give a high level perspective. To run a container, we need image. To run a container, we need a image. Okay. Now over here, I'm adding the term called as Docker in front of it, but there are other technologies also. In that case, you will be trying to basically write the technologies. To run a Docker container, we need Docker image. So Docker image contains all the necessary dependencies to run the application. Okay, right, sir. Now I'll ask one small question. I want you guys to search an answer for that. And when I say search the answer, Google it out. I'm not asking you to ensure that you have this knowledge. That is not my assumption. Okay, right, sir. So some of you might know the answer of this, but still, I have purchased around 200 laptops for my work, whatever project work which it is. Okay. Now, what I want to do is on all of these laptops, I want to install operating system. Okay. Right. So that means that I need to basically get into all the machines and then do it. Okay. I don't have those many admins. Okay. So now what I want you to understand is I'm giving you the term also. So there is something called as ghost image. Okay. So what I want you to do is just try to go to Perplexity and ask how can ghost image help in how can creating ghost image help in deploying operating system across multiple laptops. So what is your question? I want you to go through this, sir. Let us use this new way of searching the content. How can ghost image help in setting up multiple laptops? And then right after that you can ask how to create a ghost image. People on the web, are we searching it, sir? I generally ask you to search because I want you to adopt to this new way of searching. Yeah. To solve this problem, what your companies do is they take one laptop. Okay. Right. So they take one laptop. On that laptop, they install all the necessary configurations. And then whenever you're ఒకసారి నాని పిలవరు. బ్యాటరీ కాదు, బ్యాటరీ ఉంది. ఓకే, కొత్తది తీసురా. ఇంకోటి ఏంటంటే మన క్లాసులు వేరే వాళ్ళకి ఇస్తాం మానేండి. ఈ దానాలు చేసి ఉన్నాయి పోతున్నాయి. రేపటి నుండి ఇవాళ నుండి కుదరదని చెప్పి రైట్. ఫైన్ సార్. సో we have one laptop. On that laptop, whenever you are trying to install anything, it goes to your hard disk. Do you agree with me on this? Yeah. So for example, on your laptop, if you are installing a Google Chrome, eventually everything is getting into hard disk. So now what I'll try to do is I'll try to install all the necessary systems or softwares in this, and then for this I'll try to take an image, and this image is something which I'm calling as ghost image. And this ghost image I'll try to apply to every laptop over here so that I need not reinstall the operating system. This is what companies do, and these are physical systems. Okay. So in the same way, what we will try to do is we will try to create something which is called as Docker image. Okay. So Docker image contains all the necessary dependencies to run your application. Okay. Am I clear on this, sir? Yeah. So all the images which can be openly used, okay, are stored in something called as registry. What is it, sir? Registry. So registry అంటే ఏంటంటే ఇలాంటి గోస్ట్ ఇమేజ్లు ఎలాగైతే ఉన్నాయి ఇవన్నీ ఒక చోట పెడుతున్నాం అనుకోండి. సో ये सारे images जहां एक जगह जब रखते हो उसको registry बोलते हैं. Right? So now every Docker, okay, will need a registry to get the images. Are you clear on this, sir? Yeah. And the default registry is Docker Hub. Okay. So if you try to remember, I've gone to this location, and then if I try to explore over here, there are many images which are over here, and I can use any of these images because all of these are Docker images and they are stored over here. So this is a public registry, okay, which is public user. So organizations will have private registries where they will be storing, okay, application images which are not supposed to be shared across the organization. For example, all of us are working for a project for an organization. Whatever images which we build belong to our organization, so we will have our own registry. Am I clear on this, sir? Okay, fine. So now all the images which are used are stored in registry, and every Docker will need a registry to get the images. And the default Docker registry is Docker Hub. Docker Hub has a private option also, but in a general essence, this is basically what it is. So right now our stuff is we try to take some system. So it can have any operating system. Let me take a Ubuntu operating system and a Windows operating system. On that, I install Docker. Okay. Right. And then I have some registry. Okay. And whenever I want to create containers, what I can do is I can refer to the registry and then create images. Okay. Fine, sir. Now, did you understand this context now? Yeah. Right. So if you want to use Docker, you need not do anything. Just install Docker. Try to see what are the images that are present in the registry and learn some commands, and you can run your application. Okay. Right. But why are we learning container technology? मन उद्देश्य ఏంటి దీని వెనకాల हम लोगों का रीजन क्या है हमारा ऑर्गेनाइजेशन जो भी एप्लीकेशन डेवलप कर रहा है उसको कंटेनर में रन करना है అవర్ ఇంటెన్షన్ బిహైండ్ దిస్ అంటే మన ఉద్దేశం ఏంటి ఏ కోడ్ అయితే డెవలపర్లు డెవలప్ చేస్తున్నారో దాన్ని కంటైనర్లో రన్ చేయాలి కదా ఉన్నాయి వాడుకోవటం కాదు ఉన్నాయి వాడుకోవటం అయితే ఇంతే సో ఇఫ్ యూ వాంట్ టు యూజ్ సంథింగ్ విచ్ ఇస్ ఎగ్జిస్టింగ్ దట్స్ ఎ డిఫరెంట్ స్టోరీ సో the first step which we need to understand over here is, okay, let us try to basically figure out the steps or next steps. Okay, explore running containers, how to run containers. Okay, and then this is fine, that is just to get an experience, but the point is containerizing applications. I'm using a technical term, but what it means is, this means running applications, okay, built by developers inside containers. This is our first step, and this is what we need to achieve. Okay, whatever code which your developers are writing, how can I make it work inside the container? So are we clear on this, sir? So this is our first goal. This is our first goal. And for achieving this goal, what we need to understand is we need to understand a container technology in a little bit more deeper fashion. Okay, right. So at this moment, do all of you agree that to run an application, I might need some CPU, I might need some RAM, I might need some disk space, and I'll have some technologies help. So if I'm running a Java application, I need Java. If I'm running a Python's application, I need Python. Okay. Do you all agree to this point, sir? Yes. Okay. Now, who will give us all of these steps? Right. Today, I'm in the class. I'm trying to basically work it out. One thing which you need to understand is how your application runs. You will have a lot of sources in your organization. It can be a developer who is sitting beside you. It can be a documentation which has been published by a developer trying to tell what it is. And in this day and age, the first version of Docker file comes from the developer itself. Okay. So all we have to do is we have to ensure that the application is done in a better way. Okay, sir? Yeah? Okay, fine then. So for this, what I'll try to do is I'll try to start with my first step. So what the first step is, okay, exploring the installations, okay, and then running containers based on popular images which are already existing. I'm not going to build anything. Okay, so this will be our first two steps. Let us get used to this, and once we get used to this, then we will try to learn, okay, this is all fine, I know how to run containers now, but the actual reason why my company wants me to learn container technologies because they want to run their application inside the container, not existing applications. Okay, right, sir? Fine then. So Docker can be installed on Windows, it can be installed on Mac, and it can be installed on Linux instances. For all of us, this is a priority. Okay, because running it on Windows or running it on Mac is something which your developers will do while developing the code to run the application inside the containers. We will still, I'll try to give you the options for that, but I want all of you to run your containers on servers. Okay, so and when we speak of servers, Docker technology mostly will be using Linux. It doesn't mean that it doesn't run on Windows, but Linux is a cost saving option. So that's the reason why we'll be using Linux servers. So fine then, but still I'll try to speak about Windows installation. In Windows, what you need to do is, okay, ensure you have a non-home edition. Okay, Windows 11 or 10. Okay, if your Windows 10 is home edition, then we need to take an alternative approach. Okay, all you need to do is download this software and double click. But my recommendation is strongly don't install on your machine. This will make your machine slow and it is not required for us. కాకపోతే మీకు ఇంకైనా సరదాగా ఉంది. నేను ఎందుకు చేస్తానంటే because I develop some applications. For that purposes, I might need Docker in my machine because every time I can't install a new database, I'll use Docker for that. Okay, right. So on the same way, if you want to work with Mac, okay, in the Mac right now we have two important variations, whether you are using an Intel chipset or Apple chipset. If you are using an Intel chipset, try to download this, and if you are using a Mac chipset, download this. But again, I am strictly against it. I don't want you guys installing Docker on this. So the third one is installing on Linux servers. Okay, for this, what you need to do is you need to there are many ways, but I'll try to give this link. Okay, and in this link, all you need to do is execute this first and fourth step. Okay, so go into any Linux machine and install this. But today I'm not going to do any of this. Sudo sh install -docker.sh. Okay, but what I will try to do today is there is one more thing, which is exploring Docker. If you want to do, we have something called as Docker Playground. But one problem with Docker Playground is it might or might not work because those are charity servers. Yeah. So if you basically go with Docker Playground, okay, it will try to ask you to log in. So for logging in, what we would require is we would require a Docker Hub account. Okay. So first recommendation from me is go to Docker Hub. I am already logged in. Okay, fine. Yeah, let me do this. New in private window. Yeah. Right, sir. Are you seeing sign up button here? No payment details required. You have to just give your email ID or whatever it is. Just try to do this. Okay. So I would recommend you guys to create a account in. Okay. I hope you guys can do this. Yeah. Account creation కూడా నేను చూపించాలని దయచేసి అనుకోవద్దు. Okay, అలాంటి నేను చేయదలుచుకోలేదు. Okay, because it is straightforward. You have to give your email address. You will receive one email to your verification account. You have to verify email. Everything is set up free, right? Now let me basically go with Docker Playground. Then it will ask, can you log in with your Docker Hub account? Yeah, I want to log in with my Docker Hub account. Since I am already logged in, it is trying to tell start. Okay, and over here are you saying add a new instance? When we do this, what we get is we get one Linux server which has Docker already installed. Okay, but there is only one problem. When too many people try to connect, this might not work. So what to do in those cases, that we'll start worrying from tomorrow onwards. Okay, that means that we'll be creating our own servers and then we'll be installing Docker inside that. But if you want to just try something in Docker quickly, this is more than enough. You need not install anything. But you can't rely on this for practicing completely Docker. Okay, because sometimes when too many people access this, you might see some errors saying that, okay, I can't create because there is no more space left on the device, or you would see issues like this. Clear on this, sir? Yeah. Now, over here, today there will be a session where they will guide you on how to install softwares and all that stuff. In that, set up SSH key today. Okay. So once you do that, there is no need for logging in from this browser. You can just copy whatever you are seeing over here, and then on your machine we will be setting up terminal, and then you can paste this. Okay. So then you can connect to that machine from here itself. Ekkada nunde mee system nunde connect cheyochu. This is much more comfortable rather than typing on a browser. But today I'll take that pain. Okay, just try to click on Alt Enter. This becomes a full screen. And now over here, let us try to execute our first command, which is docker info. So, right, fine then. So verify Docker is working or not. So for this, all you have to do is you have to basically say docker info. So when you execute docker info, one thing which you need to remember is it needs to give you two versions. One is client version, the other one is server version. Am I clear on this, sir? Okay. Why is this so? When you install Docker, what is happening is Docker installation will install CLI. CLI basically stands for command line interface. So this is something which will be client for you. So whenever you want to speak with Docker, you will be using this command line. And then actual Docker is this Docker engine or daemon, which is server for you. Okay. So whenever you are trying to tell Docker version info, so client info means CLI info, server info means this daemons info. Okay. Are we clear on this? So you should get both. Only client vattandi server ratledante connectivity issues unnattu. Okay. So if you are getting only client version but not server version, that means that you are getting some connectivity issues that might be resolved when you execute this. For now, temporarily, sudo docker info. Temporarily, but not a good idea, right? You shouldn't be doing this. Are we clear on this, sir? So what is a way for me to check if Docker is working on my system or not? If you have installed Docker, so on my system, let me try to show you Windows. Docker info. So what is it that client is coming correctly? What is happening to the server? That means that server side is not started. So I have to start the server side. That is what the error is. Okay, fine, sir. Good. Now, after that, what we'll try to do is let us try to run our first container. ఇంతకు ముందు రన్ చేసాక మళ్ళీ దీన్ని ఫస్ట్ అని ఎందుకు అంటున్నారని యాక్చువల్గా మీరు అర్థం చేసుకొని రన్ చేస్తుంది ఇదే కాబట్టి. ఓకే, సో మై కమాండ్ ఓవర్ హియర్ ఇస్ docker run, okay, hello world. Right, all of these commands you have to remember. Am I clear? Never ever try that. Okay, so you might have this question, in the command line ekkada search cheyadi em gurtu pettukone avasaram la, just go to Google and then try to ask for docker cheat sheet. You will find hell lot of cheat sheets, and in this you will have all the necessary commands. Don't ever remember commands, and whenever you are trying to work with command line, the most easiest thing which you can do is docker hyphen help. Just to do this, it will try to tell you all the commands that are basically available. Now, the command which I want to run is docker run, and let me try to execute -help. Okay. If you try to look into this, what is it trying to tell? It will create and run a new container from a. Are we clear on this, sir? Never ever remember a command. Try to use it too much so that it becomes part of your stuff. Okay. Now, over here, whenever I'm trying to run this command, it is trying to tell that there are other aliases also. Ante ide command inkola kuda run cheyochu. So what is that command? Docker container run. So me running docker run or docker container run is the same thing, but I will go with the second approach. Okay, there is a reason for that, because if you follow the second approach, whatever you are trying to work on a Docker, there will be a pattern. Okay, so for example, if I want to remove a container, I'll be using Docker container remove. If I want to remove an image, I'll be trying to write Docker image rm. Okay, so you will have some similarities. Okay, but people who have started using Docker long back, they go with this approach, because initially we had only these commands and then the patterns emerged. Okay, fine, sir. So docker run -help. Okay, so if you try to see, let us try to look at the basic use case. Docker run, give me options and give me the name of image. Okay, so when I try to run docker run hello world, what is this? That is the name of the image. Anything which you are seeing in square brackets is optional. Ee command line lo square bracket lo kanabadutunnayani optional, right? So when I try to tell docker run hello world, that means that in the Docker hub there is an image which is called as hello world. Unda? Right. So this is what I want to create a container on the basis of this image. Okay. Now on this machine, did we install any other images, or did we try to copy any other images? మనకి వేరే ఇమేజ్లు ఏమైనా ఉన్నాయా ఇందులో? ఏమీ లేదు కదా, ఇప్పుడే కదా క్రియేట్ చేసింది మెషిన్. ఓకే, సో నౌ లెట్ మీ ట్రై టు ఎగ్జిక్యూట్. ఐఎమ్ ట్రైంగ్ టు రన్ ద సేమ్ థింగ్ ఫ్రమ్ హియర్ బికాస్ ఇట్ లుక్స్ బెటర్ హియర్. ఈజ్ దట్ ఓకే? యా, డాకర్ కంటైనర్ run, or you can use run also, and then I am trying to tell hello world. Let us try to see what is it trying to tell. Unable to find the whatever image which you have asked for, that was not present locally, so I am trying to download that from Docker hub, and then I ran that application, and this is the output. Are we clear on this? Yeah, okay. Fine, sir. So to run any container, what is the first thing which I would require now? Image. Okay, so right now, as I said, I am not interested in building images. I'm interested in using existing images. Okay, right. Now let me try doing this same thing with a different image. Okay, so now what I want to do is, okay, let's see. Okay, what is the status of this container? Okay, right. So for that, Docker, I want to see what is the status of the running containers, or what are the containers which are present in my system. Docker container -help. So what is the command which will try to give me the list of containers? I am not speaking any command line. You just look into that help command and tell me what is which will help me in listing the containers. ls ane unna kanapadutunda? Yeah. So my command is docker container ls, but I don't know how to use it. So hyphen help. It says Docker container ls is enough, but if you want additional functionality, then you can add options. So first let me run Docker container ls. మనం రన్ చేసిన కంటైనర్ కనబడుతుంది ఇక్కడ. No, it is not shown. Let us try to see what is the reason for that. Okay, so are you saying show all containers? Okay, and default shows what? Just running. So that means that my container might not be running. That's the reason why it is not shown. And here are you seeing hello world? Yes. So here what are the commands we have explored, sir? Docker container ls and Docker container ls hyphen a. And now whenever you are trying to execute the help of this command, you would see aliases, which is Docker ps. Docker container ls and rasina, Docker ps and rasina okate. Yeah, right. So now what has happened over here? Let me try to basically speak about. This is the first workflow which we need to understand. Okay, so you said that Docker run hello world. So this was your instruction from CLI. And now what would happen? From here, okay, the request has went to the Docker. So Docker engine, what is the image name which you have passed? Hello world. So inside the Docker, you will have something which is called as local repository. So what Docker does is, it tries to check if there is an image inside the local repository. First time untada? So for that reason, if the image is not present, it will try to download from registry. So what Docker does is, if the image is not present, download the image, or let me try to use this. Okay, now download the image if it is not present. That means that when Docker tries to ask for the image, if it is not present, it will try to download. This download operation from the registry is also called as pull if necessary. Once we have the image, using that image, what it does is it creates a container. So this is your container. Am I clear on this, sir? Okay. Now the thing which we need to understand is, every container will have a unique ID. What is it? Unique ID. This unique ID is not generated by us, it is generated by Docker. And then every container will have unique name. If you don't give a name, Docker will generate it for you. Are we clear on this, sir? Yeah. Now if you try to look into Docker container ls hyphen a, I didn't pass container ID, but did the container ID generate? I didn't give name, but it has given the name of this container as Peaceful Kalam. It gives random names. Okay, so whenever you are trying to run a Docker, it is a good idea to give a name, but if you don't give a name, it doesn't mean that it is nameless. Docker will generate a name for it. Are we clear on this, sir? Okay. Now, do we understand this workflow now? Yeah. And container might be in two states as of now. It might be running or it might be exited. It might be running or it might be exited, because right now the status is what? Exit. Let me try to run the same container again. Docker container run hello world. So this time what do you think will happen? I asked the same question. It goes to the Docker. Do we have an image called as hello world now? Yes. Since the image is present, it will not pull from the registry. It will directly try to create the container. If you try to see here, there is no pull stuff. Am I clear on this, sir? Yeah. So shall I run one more image now? Yeah. So I want to run Docker run. Okay. ఇక్కడ చూద్దాం. let me go to Docker Hub. Where is Docker Hub? Yeah, and let me try to click on explore. Spotlight leave awesome ladani. Okay, fine. Maki. Okay, fine. Okay, let me go with Docker official images, sir. So these are the images which are given by Docker itself. Okay, so I'll try to run Nginx. Okay, why don't you run Memcached? I can run Memcached also, but this is not something which most of you might not be familiar with. So let me try to run Nginx, which is a simple web server. So Docker run Nginx. So what is it trying to do? It has asked run Nginx. Gone to Docker daemon. Docker daemon says that I don't have Nginx locally, so it got pulled. Yes. After pulling, it has started running Nginx. Now, since this server is busy, since we have other way to connect to this, let me try to execute Docker container ls. So are you saying we have an image Nginx? It got a different name, and right now, what is it trying to tell? It is in upstate. It is in upstate. So right now we have seen container only in two states. What are they? Up or running, exited or stopped. Am I clear on this, sir? Yes. Okay. Right. Fine then. Now the problem with this running the container in this mode is, if you try to see, I can't do anything now. Right? So my terminal is completely occupied by Nginx. Okay. So from now on, what I'll do is I'll try to execute the same command, but I'll try to add just hyphen. The basic idea of giving hyphen D is run this container, but run it in the background. Don't stop me from using my terminal. Hyphen D ivagbodhi. If I don't give hyphen D, it will create the container, run it over here, and I will not be able to use this terminal anymore. So not a good idea. So for that reason, what I'll do? Docker run hyphen D. Hyphen D means run it in a detached mode, run in the background. So then it is giving me just a container ID and Docker PS, Docker container ls, they are same. So right now, are you saying it is basically running? Yes. Okay. So we'll try to speak about this modes first of all, but did we understood this workflow? Yes. Right. So then from this image, your container is created. Okay. If the image is already present, it will not try to download. And what are the states which we understood? Up and exited. Okay. The same thing is technically called as running or stopped. Yeah. Fine. How are we exiting from running Nginx? Control C. In Linux or generally in any command line, whenever you want to quit, we use Control C. Yeah. Okay, sir. So today you will have a session where you will be installing softwares. So once you install software, once you basically install the softwares and then create a cloud account, what I'll do is we will try to create our own machine, but not this charity server. The problem with this charity server is మనం సగం పనిలో ఉండగా నేను ఇంక పని చేయలేని ఆగినా చేయడానికి ఏమీ లేదు. Okay, so if you are in halfway in between that, and if it suddenly says that I can't work anymore because I'm running out of space, running out of CPU, you can't do anything. If you want to quickly explore something in Docker, then this playground is good, but not for running completely. Even if you are running, try to run it in odd timelines when not many people are basically using this. But for today, just go over here and run your first image. So what are your today's activities? Anyway, you have to install softwares. All right, if the softwares are already installed, try to go to Docker Hub, create a Docker Hub account, and then try to run your first container. So how do you create first container? Docker run hello world. Okay, and whenever you are running any Docker command line, kindly use --help. Okay, and one more thing which you can do is download the cheat sheet. You will have a PDF copy, and when before running any command, try to search it in cheat sheet. Get used to cheat sheet. Am I clear on this, sir? Okay. How does Linux terminal by default detects Docker Hub and pulls the image? It is not Linux terminal detecting anything, sir. Okay. Nikhil, it is not terminal. Whenever you try to execute a Docker command, Docker CLI, it starts with Docker, and then the request is sent to Docker engine. That is Docker, the server side of the Docker, and that is basically doing the job. Okay. Here, Linux or Windows are not doing anything. It is all done by Docker. Am I clear on this, sir? Yeah. And then I said that by default, every Docker is connected to Docker Hub. That is the default configuration. Going down the line, if you want to change, we can obviously change it. But for today, we are connected to Docker Hub. Okay. Docker images are all public. Not all are public. Whatever we are dealing today is public. Okay. So if you have been, I have said that it is okay for now to use public images, but your organization will use public images, but will not create public images. They might be creating private images. So that is the reason your organization will be using private registries. Okay. Am I clear on that, Sadik? Yes, sir. Fine. Okay. So what is your today's exercise, sir? Create Docker Hub account, right? Connect to the playground, run your first container. And if you want, you can explore and then try to run anything else. So if you try to see, yesterday I've shown you, I was trying to do the whole of deployment. So for example, in my laptop, when I'm developing an application, and for developing my application, let us assume that I need a MySQL server. I will not install MySQL server on my laptop now. What I'll do is I'll try to run a container which has a MySQL. Why should I install all the necessary softwares? I'll use it. Once I'm done with my work, delete the container. Okay. I want to use some fancy Redis stuff. So I'll basically get the Docker image. This is how developers use it. Your and my job is not developing applications. It is basically deploying applications. So our use case is slightly different. Okay. So yesterday what I've shown is the developer setup. So I was running application locally, 5 servers running on a same machine. This is what developers would like to have. For you and me, it is actually what customers would like. Okay. So our job, first job is containerizing your application. Okay. But for that, we need to explore this area, right? Okay, sir. If you want to run Java, suppose I want to, we required 4 software. Sir, simple thing is inside the container, if your application requires anything, it should, all of that should be present. Okay. If you remember, I have spoken the concept of ghost image. So what was the ghost image? All the 20 laptops needs to have the same software. Okay, because probably same set of applications. I'm giving it for my developers. So what will I do? In one laptop, I'll install whatever is necessary for a developer to work. Yes. And that I'll try to create an image. Now, no matter how big or small your application is, and I'm not speaking about desktop application, this is all server side. Whatever is required for your application to run, everything will be inside that image. So for example, for some strange reasons, my application requires Java, .NET and Python for whatever reasons which it is. Then inside my image, I'll have all the 3. The basic idea of the container is whatever is necessary to be run your application, all of them will be present inside the image. That's a basic definition of it. Then we will try to speak about best practices, what you should do and what you should not do. So what is the image? Image will have whatever is necessary. చేతబడి ముగ్గు మీ అప్లికేషన్ అది ఉంటేనే పని చేద్దంటే ఆ ఇమేజ్ లో చేతబడి ముగ్గు కూడా ఉండాలి. As simple as that. Okay. So the point which I'm trying to tell is whatever is required for your application to run, everything should be present inside the image. Yes. Okay. Am I clear on this, sir? Whether it is 4 softwares, 400 softwares, it doesn't matter. Yeah. Right. Do we have an online session for recording? So yes, sir. You will have online session. The one thing which I want all of you to understand is, in this classroom, there are many online students versus offline students. And online students connect from other countries also. Whenever I'm trying to tell that there is something, it is for both online and offline. Okay, right, sir. So Arun, am I clear on this? Whatever is necessary to run your application should be inside the image. There should not be even one unnecessary thing which your application does not require inside the image. That's the best practice, simply. Are we clear, Arun? And Zubair, all of you will be getting the link of today's session in your Telegram and also via emails, if I'm not wrong. Okay. Right, sir. Any doubts on what we have discussed today? Okay, let me upload the notes. And one more thing is, for me to define what a container and image, and for you to understand what a containerized image is, it will take another 3 sessions. Okay. The only thing which I want you to understand is our version of container, which we had yesterday versus today. Is there any change? Yes. So yesterday we were speaking about at a conceptual level. Today I have shown you a little bit practical, right? So in the next 3 days, I'll be basically going at a deeper technical level, what is happening and how is that working. But I can't do all of that in one day. If I do all of that in one day, then I'm showcasing my skills, I'm not teaching, which I don't want to. Okay, right. This is the most important technology, sir. Without this, you cannot call yourself as a DevOps engineer. That's the simple thing. So for that reason, if there is anything that is haunting you or anything, kindly try to put it up. And if you can't ask questions for whatever reason it is, try to at least bring it to the notice of lab assistant so that I'll try to take questions from them and I'll try to address them. Okay, right, sir. So the notes is uploaded. Okay. Yeah. Right. And for some of the people in the online, generally I try to tell this. In the classroom, I'm doing 3 things, sir. One is I'm writing the notes for you. Other thing is I am basically doing some experiments and showing it to you, or some practical stuff and doing it to you. And I'm explaining concepts. Okay. So I'll be writing notes in Visual Studio Code. Alright. So you need not do the same thing. కొంతమంది వీడియో చూసి ఇదే పని చేస్తున్నారు. వీడియోలో ఉన్నదంతా మీరు చేయాల్సిన పని లేదు. రైట్? మీకు చెప్తే నవ్వు రావచ్చు కానీ ఇలా చేసిన వాళ్ళు ఉన్నారు. నా బాధలు నాయి. Right? So when I started DevOps discussions, what I used to do was, in the classroom, I used to turn off all the lights so that no one makes a note of it. Okay? And I didn't used to give notes. And my way of learning is, I want you guys to search and figure out. And I'm speaking about 8 years ago. So no Perplexity, no ChatGPT at that point of time. My intention was go to Google Docs and then try to do it. And on one fine day, what was happening was, ఈ చీకట్లో కూడా రాసుకునేవాళ్ళు కొంతమంది. Right? Even if the lights were turned off, people were writing the notes. I didn't wanted to trouble it out, but there was a point where I was trying to speak about this. So there is, I had drawn something which looks like this in the notes to try to speak about 3 pillars of Kubernetes networking. And I've seen a couple of people in my classroom sitting in the first bench and drawing this table. From that day, I have started writing notes. Okay, ఈ టేబుల్ గీసుకోవటం ఇవన్నీ ఎందుకు మరీ అరాచకంగా ఉందని. Okay, right. So in this classroom, I'm doing 3 things. I'm writing notes, I'm explaining concepts, and I'm doing practicals. So for the people initially, it might look that I'm switching too many windows. I'm switching too many windows because I'm trying to do 3 things. All you have to do is understand and implement. Okay. So whatever I'm trying to do practically, for today evening, you will receive a session where they will help you on running on a Docker playground, whatever I have run, Docker run Hello World. If you have any trouble, you can connect to that session and then they will help you out. And tomorrow we'll have a better view because we'll be installing Docker tomorrow, right? We'll be need to understand a little bit more than this. Okay, right, sir. Thank you. Notes is uploaded already.